Put on your masks, it's time for High Rise Invasion. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince of the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 1 of High Rise Invasion, an anime O&A series by Studio Zero G, a studio that has made various things but nothing of any note. Like, a few things like I've maybe briefly heard of, but nothing that people talk about, nothing that people like really discuss. This is the one that I've heard the most about, and I still don't really know anything about it because I've, avoided any possible spoilers, but it's definitely the most talked about of this studio's works. I don't know what that bodes. Um, but yeah, I don't really know what this series is exactly about. I do know that there's people in masks. There's a lot of violence, and it doesn't really hold back on that. And that's pretty much it. Excuse me. I don't know the plot. I don't know any character information. I don't know. So, not really much to go on here. All I know is it's on Netflix. It looked interesting. So I thought to put it on the wheel, and it was chosen. So we're going with that. Hopefully it ends up being really good. I think it's only like 12 episodes, so it's just a single core series. And it should be pretty easy to get through, hopefully, unless it's, really not that enjoyable. But yeah. Excuse me. Sorry for all the yawning. I wasn't yawning before this, weirdly enough. But it's like whenever I start recording, maybe it's because I'm talking a lot. I just start yawning. Anyway. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what this is like, what the actual plot of it is and everything. And hopefully we'll end up enjoying it. So, let's just get into this. I don't really have anything more to say. I can't, like, extend these pre-thoughts anymore. So, let's see what this first episode of High Rise Invasion has in store for us. Cutting in here real quick to remind you that we have a lot of great content to check out on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Friday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday, as well as Let's Plays every day of the week. We switch on and off every day between Horizon and Baldur's Gate 3 and have Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. Please don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. We redirect everything just due to copyright. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and the channel, respectively. And I hope you have a great time with today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I don't know why I haven't heard more about this. Like, even through, like, social media, like Twitter or whatnot. I feel like people would have talked about this just because of how fucking terrible it is. Like, oh my god, that was bad. Like, there's so many things wrong with this. But the thing is, and I'm going to say this before I get into the rest of the review of my thoughts on the episode and what happened within it. I don't know yet if this is a so bad it's good kind of situation. Where it's like, oh, it's absolutely terrible, but that's kind of almost the appeal of it. Or if it's a situation of it's just, plain bad. It's not bad like, oh, it's cleverly bad. No, it's just fucking dumb. I don't know. That's definitely something I have to see more of to determine. So I'm telling you right now, we're gonna continue for the moment for 1 or 2 more episodes to really get a feel for it. Because for all I know, it might have just been this first episode. This first episode might have just been really poor at setting things up and everything. And the rest of the series might be a lot better. But let's talk about this. Okay. So the setup of this is basically Alice in Borderland, which is another reason why I find this so bad, because I love Alice in Borderland, at least the live action series on Netflix. Let me explain. If you don't know what Alice in Borderland is, here's the general synopsis. This main character named Arisu is transported along with his friends to kind of this mirror dimension, this alternate world that looks like Tokyo. It looks like, his home, but there's no one around. There's no one around. There's nothing except other people who are teleported in there. And within certain time limits, you have to play a game. You have to take part in a game in order to survive. Of course, during the game, you can die. And different games have different, suits, like suits of cards, like heart, club, diamond. And the different suits are different things. Like the heart suit is stuff that will hit you personally and emotionally and all that. And the number, like, 2 of hearts, 5 of hearts, 10 of hearts, jack of hearts, stuff like that determines the difficulty. But anyways, he and his friends have to try and navigate this, like, alternate version of Tokyo, interacting with the different people there and playing these death games. This seems to be very similar. You have this main girl who just is suddenly out of nowhere transported to this alternate world, this alternate city. She was in her school initially, but it seems like she almost kind of blinked her way into this, but we don't actually see that. And that's my first and biggest issue with this, is that there is absolutely zero fucking setup. When you have an isekai of any kind, whether it's like a death game isekai like Alice in Borderland, or just like, sent to a fantasy world kind of bullshit like you see everywhere, you have to have setup. You have to get to know the character before they're isekai in order to get attached to them, in order to understand them and their personality. And then once they get isekai, you start to see how all of that changes based on the circumstances they're forced into. It's just 101. It's Isekai 101. And I don't know if the manga that this is based on just throws you into this right off the bat like this did. But this is not how you handle this. By throwing us into this, like, starting without any semblance of setup or whatnot, it's just confusing. It just leaves the viewers confused and doesn't allow us to get to know the character before being thrust into these circumstances. Because of that, the character comes across as really, like, weird in terms of personality. Because we don't know what her personality is normally like at all. We've only seen it under this duress, under this stress and terror and stuff. And she's been all over the place, as I kept stating in the reaction. She's like back and forth on her personality. It's like, oh, I'm scared, but then suddenly I'm super confident and calm and everything. Oh, but then I'm scared again because I'm crossing the bridge. But then suddenly I'm willing to kill people. I can use this gun for practice and stuff. It's like, the fuck? It's like, pick a personality, girl. The thing is, having like this kind of switch up and stuff, having your personality kind of like waver like this, could work if we had setup. If we had knowledge of what this character's personality is normally like, then we see her kind of going crazy and losing her mind, and her personality kind of switching up and going all over the place because of these insane circumstances. That could work. If it's executed well, of course, but it could work. And it's just... and it's confusing. And then at the same time, you have her brother, who's, let's be honest here, really confusing as well. Because it's like, oh, she calls him on the phone. He's the only person she can reach. And he's like, "Oh, where are you? What is going on?" And she explains she's in this world. He's like, "I'm in this world too." And she's like, "I see someone over there with a mask." He's like, "You see a mask?" And it's like, "Oh, they're dangerous. They don't actually want to murder. They're trying to push you to commit suicide and stuff." And he's talking like he knows about them, but he's not talking as if he's one of them. He's acting as if he's scared for her and wanting her to get to safety, but later on in the same episode, we see him literally shoot at her. He's aiming at her with the sniper rifle, but then he kills the pervert cop who's, trying to sexually assault her, but then he shoots at her too. It's like, what the. I understand he's being mind controlled, but we don't know that at that point. So it just comes across as confusing. It does help when we find that out a little bit, but it's just like, it's really hard to figure out at first. And then it's just like, again, it just kind of thrusts you into it, and all of the like knowledge of what this world is like is basically delivered through exposition. We find out everything based on what either the brother or maid mask or whatnot says, and it's like, okay, sure. And also, let's talk about the pervert cop moment for a second here. That was completely unnecessary, and it didn't need to go that far. Like, w- was the brother like commanded to let it go that far? Because that just doesn't seem believable. That doesn't seem realistic. There's no reason for that. Why didn't he shoot the guy sooner? Why did he have to wait until his sister had her tits like forcefully pulled out by this guy? And she was in the process of pulling down her panties. It's like, this is literally a teenage girl. It literally says this. She is a high school teenage girl who is being actively sexually assaulted here. And even like without knowing at the moment that this is her brother, it's like, why did he wait? It just, I don't know. I don't know. But I think at that time we did know he was the brother, actually. Yeah, because I think we found that out before the cops came in. Yeah, I believe so. And either way, it was obvious anyway. Um, but it's just like, if he was commanded to let that go on so long, why? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That's that. I just don't get it. The pacing of this was also wildly all over the place. We, it's like, because this also starts just at the wrong place and everything. It's just like you're going through all this stuff, and it's just like it's going by way too quickly. I really do not believe that Yuri should have come across three separate masked people in this episode. It should have been one. And she should not have found out about the masks until like the end of the episode. It's like that just makes sense from a writing perspective. The way it's done here, again, it's throwing the exposition at you so you as a viewer, or I guess reader of the manga, knows what's going on. But it's like, it's so poorly paced. The characters don't act like people most of the time. And I'm not talking about when they're being controlled and everything. It's like, it's just so ridiculous. The writing, the dialogue, the pacing, everything really. The art and animation is fine. But it's like, when you're using it for purposes like having this girl be assaulted and like making a point of that shot where the top is the buttons are being cut and the boobs like pop out. It's like that was a very like needlessly well animated shot. And it's kind of gross, and I understand there's differences in cultural perspectives and everything between America and Japan and everything. But it's like it's really fucking gross. And I also understand it's expressed to be bad. Again, she's being sexually assaulted. You're not supposed to see this as a good thing. But then why did they put so much effort into the animation for the boobs popping out? That was very clearly meant to be fan service. If you're showing a scene of sexual assault, you should not be presenting it as fan service. You should not be presenting it as enticing. And that's kind of what it does here. That's fucking gross. Ugh. It's just. This first episode was not good. I'll give it one or two more episodes to see if it gets any better. But it's like, even the music in this episode was so unfitting. None of the music fit the scenes. It just felt like cool action music for the sake of cool action music. It didn't feel natural for any of the scenes it was in. It's like, oh, we're gonna play cool, like cool symphonic music because it sounds good, not because it fits with what's actually happening with the characters or anything. No, we're not gonna use music in a logical way at all. That would be silly. The voice acting, like in terms of just the quality of the performance, was fine. I guess nothing like to write home to, but fine. And it's like the designs of the masks are good. I really like that. I guess that's the only thing I can say I really like about this, or like pretty much at all. The masks designs are pretty cool. Not the mask itself, but like the character designs of each of the, characters, the masks. Like Maid Mask has a really fun design. Obviously the maid design, and obviously fan servicey there too, but it somehow really works with the mask, specifically the design of the maid outfit and the colors and everything. Um Sniper Mask has like this kind of cool look to him. Butcher Mask, as I'm calling him, had kind of this psychotic, almost Evil Within style look to him. It's like, yeah, the mask designs are great, but that's about it. I mean, Yuri has the most generic ass female schoolgirl protagonist design possible. It's like, it's so fucking generic and boring. And then there's this other girl who appears at the end, who it's like, why the fuck was Yuri surprised that there was another person there who could kill someone? It's like, what, you think that, oh, just because other survivors who are transported here, just because they're survivors means they're not going to be willing to kill anyone to survive? You think that the only people who would be willing to kill here are the masks? No, what? That's just not logical. Oh, and she was surprised, by the way. Um, oh God, I lost my train of thought. Um, oh my God, I completely lost my train of thought. It had to do with the same kind of thing. She was surprised by the masks, or by the girl killing another person. I think it had something to do with the masks, I think. Oh my God, that's gonna bother me. Oh, duh. She's surprised that the masks are people. I don't know why that escaped me so bad there. Sorry for my brain fuzzing out. But yeah, it's like she finds out that the masks are actually humans, and it's like, why are you surprised? They're people wearing masks. You thought they weren't human? You thought they were like what, robots? Ghosts? What were you expecting? Why is she surprised at that? The masks are people? No fucking shit. What else would they be? Oh my god. Just thinking more and more about this episode gives me a headache. And here, I'll even help give like an idea of how this could have been made better. Okay, so obviously I already said this needs to have like 5 to 10 minutes at least showing her before being isekai. We get to know her character, get to know her personality, see her interact maybe with her parents and her brother. Doesn't have to be anyone else, but her parents and her brother. Um, Maybe then we see her go to the school and everything, and that's when she gets transported in. So she's freaking out. She's unsure of what's going on, and she starts to wander around. She's confused. She's scared, which is understandable. But she's wandering around trying to find out what's going on. She ends up finding. She ends up getting to the top of a building. Ends up seeing she's in a high rise instead of the school, and that's when she starts freaking out and trying to call her parents. Can't get through. Calls her brother. Gets through, and he's like, he doesn't tell her about the masks because we don't see a mask yet. He's like, "Where are you?" And she tells him that she's there, and he's like, "Stay where you are. I'll find you," and everything, something like that. The conversation ends, but she gets curious. She hears maybe a noise, or maybe thinks she sees something and starts to move around. She discovers the rope bridges at this point, early on, and starts to go across from building to building, still seeing or hearing no one else. But like as she continues to go across, maybe she hears something again. So she starts to follow the sounds, and it starts to be revealed to be someone screaming. She comes up to the person who's screaming. She sees them across like at another building, but there's no rope bridge from the one she's on to that one. She sees them leaning across like one of those guard fences, screaming, and she can't tell why at first. But then eventually, the one of the masks comes into view. This is her first experience with the mask. She sees the mask attack the person, but the person avoids it, and that's when the person commits suicide. We don't need to be told about this. We see it happen. The person is sitting there or standing there by the edge, and the mask doesn't move. The mask doesn't like do anything. And the person just starts like laughing, maybe crazily, and just maybe crying a bit, and walks off the edge to their death. You can even have the same kind of shot where it's like, oh, we see their head about to hit the pavement and all, but then it cuts away with the squish and all. Our girl naturally freaks out and starts to run. As she's running, she starts to think, put it together in her head what just happened. This person was being attacked, but the masked killer didn't actually kill the person, but rather watched as they committed suicide. Maybe she even looks back and sees the masked killer looking over the edge to confirm the death. And that's where she gets that idea. She ends up going across multiple buildings trying to escape, and eventually does. She's, seemingly home free, seemingly clear, and able to collect her feelings. She starts thinking about what's going on, starts talking to herself, freaking out a little more. And that's when maybe she comes across the police. The police scene can happen, except it doesn't go as far as it did, because that was completely needless and really just gross. But he starts to assault her and forces her to start to, strip and everything. But at that point, a gunshot rings out and the cop is killed. And not fake killed, actually killed from what seems like a sniper shot. The girl freaks out, hides behind the other side of the part of the building on top, um, that's sticking out, and maybe we see in the distance there's another person wearing a mask holding a sniper rifle, but we don't like focus in on them. So she goes inside the building, can't go down too far, but goes inside the building and starts to, like, again, think about like what led her to this point and everything. And if you pace that out well enough, that could be the entire episode. That's all you need. There, okay, so you have two masks in there instead of one, instead of three like we had in this, but instead of one like I suggested. But one is barely shown and it only comes in at the end. You don't get the information about the masks mind controlling them yet, because that should not be in the first episode. That felt like that would be a reveal that should happen a little later on, maybe in the third episode, but not the first. Um, there's more actual like showcasing of this girl's personality and her like freaking out like naturally and everything with that. We There's less things happening on screen because she's just wandering around without other people around a lot of the time. Yes, but that would also sell a lot more of the danger of things when the people do start to come out and death starts happening. It just feels like it would be so much better that way. But as it was done, it was not good. I'll give it one or two more episodes, like I've said multiple times now. See if it gets a little better, but this might not be one we continue for long. I was talking about in the pre thoughts. Funny enough, too, that with 12 episodes, it shouldn't be too difficult to get through, unless it's really bad. And it's like, oh God, I jinxed it, didn't I? I totally jinxed it by saying that. We'll give it like one or two more episodes. We'll see how it goes next week. But tell me your thoughts in the comments below. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.